All right, I'll get going with some of the pre-webinar announcements. So welcome everyone, and thank you for your participation and attendance today. We're going to be covering wellness and a few other topics here today, but this is going to follow a little bit different format than what you've experienced in the past. We've got three wonderful panelists here with us today. I have Greg Commins from Three Sages. He is the CEO and founder of Three Sages. I also have Justin Campbell, who is the Chief Growth Officer for Three Sages. And from our parent company, First Service, we have Michelle Kithcart, who is Director of Lifestyle Programming. So very excited about our panelists and our presentation here today. And again, thank you for everyone joining. The initial focus we're going to have here, and just to outline the kind of the format to things, is we will have Q&A at the end. So again, if you have questions, obviously just fill them in at the Q&A section at the bottom. We're going to cover, well-being and what is well-being kind of pre-COVID, during COVID, and kind of what we see after, reopening and things progress after COVID. And then, how is this interacting with our communities and our lifestyle? And then again, we've done presentations with Three Sages in the past on the wonderful app that they have. There's some new and exciting things that have developed that we're going to inform you on today. And then we'll roll into the Q&A and really allow our audience to ping away at, our panelists and our esteemed, the expertise that we have here. So I will kick it right off to you, Greg, to dive right in here. And let's get started. I'm excited.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. And Michelle and Justin, great to be on a panel with you all today, just to speak about wellness, sort of past, present, and future. And I definitely like, what we like to do is, I'll pull this up here for everybody and just get my screen up so we can all see it. Let me see that. Give me 1 second. Okay. So I want to start, we come from a world of wellness and well-being. So what better way to kick off a discussion on well-being with doing a bit of breath work. So, if you'd like to, join us, it's just going to be 1 minute, just doing a bit of box breathing before we kick things off, just to really just sort of reset ourselves. It helps with stress, it helps with focus, but, because it's going to be a conversation about well-being, I just like to get us all in that moment. And really, this little technique over here is the 4 seconds in, 4 seconds hold, 4 seconds up, 4 seconds hold. So if you'd like to partake, it's just going to be 1 minute. And then after that, we can dive in. So just for the next minute, if you could just, just take some time and just really engage with this, this would be great. Okay, give me a second. There we go. Now that I get everyone's attention, hopefully, we all centered and balanced. I think it's a great time to dig into the conversation and just, about wellness and well-being. So thank you for taking that minute just to really, tune yourself into what we're going to be going in today. What I like to kick off the conversation with is where we were, pre-COVID. Of course, there's a lot of discussion going around, where we were, what are we doing now and where do we go to? And, if we really think back to where we were pre-COVID and, even like the last year, 12, 24 months, it was a great time to be alive. And I like to use the slide because everyone was worry-free. There weren't the issues we're facing nowadays. And, we had flexible work schedules, technology to do everything for us, We're inside that environment of being, you know, more social work environments. Everything was going fantastic for us. But when you sort of like, I always like to challenge thoughts and sort of challenge that, that outlook, you know, were we really that, you know, free, and were we really having the time of our lives? Because we always look at it that, you know, yes, technology can be good, but it also has another side to it. And, you know, we start looking at that feeling of overloaded, always connected, you know, chronic work schedules, not enough time for ourselves. And this is a pretty common image if you really think about where we were. So, you know, we have to sort of take a few steps back and look deeper at where we were pre-COVID, and not think that COVID is on now and this is who we are here. You know, we all, you know, even before COVID, we had, you know, that always on mentality, burnout, absenteeism, stress, reduced productivity, high anxiety. These were common words and common feelings which we felt, you know, for the last, you know, for many, many years. It's nothing new to us. So really, like, you know, that was compounded when our little red friend hit. You know, obviously that was, you know, that just went along, and all the stress we were feeling and everything which we were experiencing prior to this, you know, take that mask off of that everything was roses, you know, there was those underlying issues. And COVID really just came along and compounded that for us. So what happened during this time? And, you know, we're not going to overload you with a whole lot of stats, because I think a lot of people already understand where the, you know, where it is and where we're going. But, you know, when that happened was, you know, when COVID hit a couple of weeks back, it really started to show, you know, different parts of the market. You know, the whole, here's a stat right now where it shows the categories that were rising. There was a 500% increase in home fitness exercise equipment. But what really, really spiked was looking at the mobile side of the world. Now, mobile's nothing new. It has been used for some time, but you start to see what happened with Peloton, or what is happening generally in health and fitness searches, Nike Training Club, you know, you name it. All these apps saw exponential growth and rapid in what was happening. And, you know, we sort of take that a step back. This was happening before, as was our stress, as was everything. You know, and we always bring it to this point here, is that wellness has been changing for quite some time. There's nothing, you know, mobile technology has been incorporated into fitness and health and wellness for, you know, for many, many years. So what we really need to do is just take stock of where we were trending, but see how it has been highlighted, you know, obviously with the current environment which we find ourselves in. And we just have to look at a couple of those trends. You know, this is, you know, from ClassPass published an article a while back of just seeing that there was a 16% increase in people taking meditation, restorative and recovery classes. We also look at another stat on, you know, the sort of physical growth projections on the physical activity market. We look at mindful movements and technology really surging ahead, and, you know, they're projected to be the most aggressive growers. So what we're looking at here is not saying that the fitness industry and equipment and supply industry is not going to be growing. It absolutely is. We're just trying to show the mindset that where we were before COVID, we're starting to question, you know, what are we as humans doing? Are we looking after ourselves, our general well-being in a more holistic approach? And when we start to look at that, and then sort of put it to where the market's going right now, that people are tapping into more mobility, and what are we doing because we can't have access to those spaces we used to have access to, and then what are we doing when we're getting back to those environments? So I think the big question here is that we have to ask, and, you know, obviously we'll have a conversation with everybody here, is what is the strategy we're putting in place, which is not just a magic wand of, oh, we're creating something new. It's like, let's look at what we really were doing in the past. Let's look at what we really needed to address in the past, which was that more holistic approach to wellness and well-being. And then let's think about the strategies which we can implement now, but also accelerate some things which we were thinking about incorporating into our overall strategies, and let that be the future. So I think we are touching on quite a few different things then. I think, you know, a good way for us to be able to look at this is, you know, what is actually going on in the marketplace. And I think a good person to speak to that would be Michelle. You know, Michelle, just to get your input here on, yes, we see these strategies. Yes, we know that COVID's been an impact to us. Yes, we know that we should be more mindful and we should be moving in certain ways in a more holistic way. But in reality, how is that done in the marketplace? And take everything which I've just touched on here and sort of really put it into the market and say, well, what are you doing and what are you doing? So just to hand it over to you, just to have a conversation on that, to get a bit more insight to actually what's going on out there.
Awesome. Thank you, Greg. Maybe we should do a breathing exercise while I'm setting up my computer. That was a wonderful way to start us off. Thank you so much. Let me see. There we go. Can you all see my screen? Can you give me a thumbs
Yep.
up? Awesome. So again, thank you, Greg. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Kithcart, and I'm the Director of Lifestyle Programming for First Service Residential. As many of you know, First Service Residential is the largest management company in the nation. We serve over 8,000 associations, hitting, close to 2 million people every day. So I just want to take a minute to kind of walk you through, how and where we have been focusing on wellness when it comes to our lifestyle properties. So typically our lifestyle properties, what are they, right? They're highly amenitized properties that can range in size from maybe a few hundred homes to these large, grand planned communities with thousands of homes. So in these properties, we typically hire what we call a lifestyle director to plan and execute events to help enrich the lives. And really the focus is the quality of life for the residents. So our programming calendars, they typically encompass the 6 pillars of wellness. We hit on events such as that we have listed here, community-wide events. It could be concerts, holiday festivities, educational classes, fitness classes, day trips, travel, a lot of variety of programming that at the end of the day really aligns with the unique needs of the community. So once this pandemic hit, we immediately recognized the impact this was going to have on these lifestyle properties, because these properties in particular, the residents are used to getting together, having engagement, having social interaction. So we felt there might be a lot of people finding themselves, isolated, alone, kind of shut in, if you will. So in many of the communities, we also have, single people, maybe residents that are over the age of 65 or disabled that really need our help. So the health and safety of our residents, really came into the forefront of our minds. So again, the question began, what are we doing to help reach these people, to help their well-being? So I just want to talk through some of the phases of programming that we have seen and that we have implemented at our communities. So the first phase, we're calling that, kind of our lifestyle at home. And we're going to talk about this initiative here shortly. But our teams, they immediately pivoted and became really flexible and adaptable to the circumstances that we're facing now. It became important for our communities to implement simple strategies like neighbors helping neighbors, or a telephone tree check-in system, if you will, to put in place at these communities. So just the purpose of a simple, telephone call in the beginning stages of the pandemic to check in on a neighbor truly impacted a resident's well-being. They felt like somebody cared about them, reached out to them. So we saw not only did it impact the residents that were receiving the call, but it also impacted the callers. And I can just think of a quick story. I got an email from one of my lifestyle directors who had implemented this program in her community. And she gathered a few volunteers together. They kind of divvied up the community directory, and they were all putting calls into the residents just to simply check on them. And she wanted to get involved, so she actually made one of those calls. And what started off to be a simple, check-in call, hello, how are you today? Is there anything I can help you with? Turned into this powerful exchange between her and this resident that she said impacted her forever. So you just never know, simple intentions or simple strategies that can impact people on all sorts of levels that we can't even understand, today, tomorrow, maybe months or years later, we will really understand how much these simple things impacted people. So our second strategy, of course, with the onset of this was that our lifestyle directors would have no interruption in their programming calendar. I know it kind of sounds odd, like how can they be doing what they've always done? But here's the thing, our lifestyle directors still continue to program plan, bring people together. It's just on a different platform now, right? A virtual platform. So we started thinking of anything and everything we could do to reach people, engage people, and just to help their mindset and their well-being. So we saw virtual programming from, happy hours to painting parties to trivia nights. Some of our properties, of course, following the guidelines, did drive-through farmers markets, food trucks, of course, the streaming of all sorts of fitness classes, wellness classes, and even community social purpose initiatives that all help the mindset and the well-being of people. So just because our motto was just because we're physically distancing, it doesn't mean we can't be social and create that like positive impact for our residents. And then phase 2, of course, that's the outdoor spaces. Those have started to begin being activated. And we just know that, the weather up north is getting nicer, and we understand the benefits of being outside and utilizing these outdoor amenities to their fullest. And of course, the sunlight, all that kind of stuff with just being outside truly, truly impacts, individuals' well-beings. And then, of course, our phase 3, which is our new normal, and what does that look like? I can just say that the idea of programming through like this virtual lens and technologies is now a reality, right? So program planning is no longer limited to maybe the capacity of a room or a location. We've been able to really leverage these virtual capabilities so that we can adapt to all sorts of different learning styles and really hitting all generations that possibly perhaps in the past, we're reaching people that weren't engaged before. So we are really excited about the future of programming and what it means for us. And then the other side that I wanted to talk about was really this lifestyle at home initiative that I mentioned earlier. And just, kind of how our company rallied together to support our associates and our residents, and how we strategically, collaborated with national vendors in our lifestyle at home initiative. So again, lifestyle at home really got kicked into high gear when the pandemic happened. We just really wanted to bring opportunities and experiences to the residents, right? Instead of having the residents come to maybe our amenity centers or what have you, now we're hitting people anywhere they are. So our team started producing, regular, consistent communications, which was so important to maintain connectivity with our teams and our residents. And we distributed these lifestyle at home emails, pretty much daily in the beginning for at least the first 4 weeks. And now it's a few times a week, just chocked full of information, free content, right? To keep that kind of sense of normalcy and just to let the residents know that we're here with them each and every day. And then our lifestyle living newsletters. So once we produce these newsletters quarterly, and now we're turning them out, every 3 weeks, just full again of community tips, living tips, healthy recipes, wellness, all in an effort to continuously bring value and content to our residents during this time. And then of course the lifestyle webinars like Heartline is hosting today. As a company, we host these every Friday to educate our boards, keep them up to date on, new programs and benefits that we have going on. And then of course, our last piece on how we are just maintaining residents' wellness is our strategic partnerships. So we have positively impacted and engaged our residents and our associates too, by providing free streaming on fitness, health, wellness, educational opportunities, all to help them sustain this active and healthy lifestyle during and after the stay-at-home orders have been lifted. So as Greg mentioned, our residents could be feeling a lot of stress, anxiety, but the thing is our associates are feeling it too. So health and wellness, now more than ever, is just in the forefront of people's minds. And I just wanted to read this quick quote. This just really resonates with me. You cannot enjoy others until you enjoy yourself, because you cannot give to others what you do not have. And that was John Maxwell. And I just feel like that quote really resonates with, self-care and taking care of yourself first, because if you don't do that, then how can you serve other people? So this is why, we value our partners so much, like Heartline and Three Sages. They just really have helped us provide solutions for our residents and associates all along the way, between the best practices, in the fitness centers, the informational articles, the quick sips of wellness, and of course the Three Sages app that Justin's going to talk about in just a minute. So I speak for myself, but I think I also speak for everyone on the call. Like, self-care is just so important, and we understand that. And so like I mentioned earlier, we don't know exactly the future of programming, but we all know that health and wellness is at the forefront of our minds. And, as a company, we've just really pivoted our programming and aligned with strategic, industry experts to help reach our residents and our associates and get them through this time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Justin to speak a little bit further about the Three Sages app and their offerings there.
Yeah, awesome. And hopefully everybody can hear me okay. Yeah, thumbs up. Perfect. And thank you. Great job, Michelle, and certainly Greg, and obviously to Jeff and the, the entire Heartline team for hosting us these great webinars, and as we take a deeper look into kind of these areas of expertise that are really important to Three Sages. I think kind of in encapsulation, and I'll be quick. I looked at Greg did a really fantastic job, I think, of kind of explaining a lot behind, this why. Why is this wellness and restoration, mental and physical, so important? And Michelle's done a great job taking the baton, kind of how her team and First Service might be attacking some of those challenges more directly. And what I think here is, we've seen is, just how agile you need to be, how versatile, how, not only maybe a product solution, but also, a digital strategy. And that's one of the reasons we found such a great opportunity to partner with Heartline, is because that's really what we do, right? If you look here, this is just kind of a snapshot of our, our portfolio and different ways that we're not only working with Heartline more specifically, but just in general, as it relates to a digital solution, we have a beautiful mobile app on an iOS platform that really talks about all the different, shows you all the different types of content and wellness content. And for us, wellness means different things to everybody. And for us, you're going to have mindfulness, meditation, yoga, quick fixes, some physical stuff. And then really kind of do that anywhere. And as you see kind of here, that these, what we're calling our restore lines, restore walls, is our physical product solution. So, this requires creativity, less equipment inside the fitness center. So how do you take it not only outside of your traditional fitness center, and, even outside of the building, with a mobile solution? And so this, just shows you a little bit about the portfolio. The app is ready now. We're doing some strategic stuff with Heartline and First Service, and, ways to expose, your residents, your employees, your coworkers to this great content, through the month of June. And then, how that relates, same content, into our physical products here, our restore walls that, probably about 4 to 6 weeks out. But one of the things Michelle said, and maybe kind of take us to the next slide, which is, this need for constant communication. You can have all the reasons to do this, and all of the amazing tools and avenues of which to consume that. And hopefully you'll start to realize that we think, we're one of those tools. But it takes maybe a strategy and a plan just to show you how simple you can achieve, really holistic wellness, through our kind of mantra of sips of wellness, very short format, 3 to 5 minutes of experiences. So, we thought it would be a creative way to challenge those, and to share kind of a three-week challenge, and kind of think it here. It's 21 days. You're going to have 21 different experiences across a full spectrum of wellness, be it yoga, be it breath work, be it mindfulness. So you're going to get a chance to really see what resonates with you, what you gravitate to, and can do all of this in less than a 3-hour commitment. And it's just a great way to really kind of, Michelle mentioned community. She mentioned, this powerful exchange of one of their residents. Like, this is a great way to build community and have a very deliverable product, right? So have your apps, download it. And Jeff, you can agree that you'll share kind of particulars again on how to download the Three Sages app. And then, there will be specifics how to get through these experiences in the 3-week challenge. And who knows, maybe it can generate some excitement and some goodwill. And, if it just gets 1 or 2 of your residents, your employees, or your colleagues in a better space, then, then we've done good already. Jeff, maybe back to you, or over to Michelle, or. You're on mute, Jeff.
You're on mute, Jeff.
There we go.
I was just saying, everybody work on your breath work while I talk, while I'm on mute, and change my slides, right? It's funny, you think you won't do it, and then you actually do it. Well, I heard some interesting things, and I have some questions, and then we'll moderate some of the questions that are coming in. I think we can probably all attest to, the grind that we've been in, initially. And Greg, you talked about this. And I think what we may have paid attention to with, physical well-being, and maybe not so much mental well-being, but I can tell you personally, there was a lot to do before. There's even more to do now. And it's, in some cases it feels like you're in prison, right? You can't go anywhere, and there's an impact. It wasn't I didn't necessarily feel it right out of the gates, but as we've got into week 7, week 8, and maybe even more so for some other people, I think there's a definite sense of we've got to start to take care of some of these things mentally, because they are having an impact, right? Um, so, obviously there's this Three Sages app, and Michelle, like what you guys have creatively, adapted to try to support your community and the lifestyle. Great information for all of us to consider, whether we're in a community or we're just stuck in home trying to figure out what to do with our 3 kids that I have here. So I want to lead off with a couple questions, and I'm going to go to Greg, because I think there's a little bit more. Let's talk about the app just a little bit more here for a second. But you've got obviously some other things in the works here since we originally started to talk about Three Sages and the app and the program that we launched with you, I think probably 4 to 5 weeks ago, right?
Yeah, so I think, really from our side is that, like any company in the wellness and fitness space, when the pandemic hit is, we were just lucky that we were in the right, we've been preaching this for quite some time of just the need for self-care, the need for a more holistic approach to well-being. And, like I mentioned, like we have to take stock of that fact that this is nothing new. It's just, it's being compounded. And, when this happens, it's been great. It's been great for us in a sense, which sounds quite crazy, but, it allows us now because there's more attention on people wanting to take care of themselves more. And so we've been able to put, fast track our app and release it early and get it out there so we can start to help those. We've been giving it to communities for free so they can just get there, get the mindfulness, get those sips of wellness in short format. We all know how hard it is when you've got your toddler clinging to your leg while you're slacking 5 of your colleagues. It's not an easy thing. So to go and do a 60-minute workout is going to be quite a challenge. So even more now than ever, it's like we got to really start to think about how we're delivering content, in what format, and what platforms we're using. I think also being really relevant in what strategies we're giving people with the product as well moving forward is, how we helping initially with giving content, which people can use now today and start to make a difference. But then what comes like next month and the following months and years is that really guiding people through programs and journeys on this holistic approach to well-being, like we showed inside that 21 challenge, which we can circulate to everybody after the call, but showing people that all it takes is a little bit of time, but giving them more know-how to do that. And that's where the mobile solution will come in about 8 weeks time. We'll be releasing another version of our app. We're doing quite a bit of work on the backside of that, and really programming in more help and more care for folks. So that's where we sort of, road mapping out with the mobile solution the next 8 weeks. Obviously our wall solution will go hand in hand with that, and that releases in about 6 weeks time.
Awesome. Thanks, Greg. I just want to answer, there's a question here. If you can have the slides. Yes, the slides will be available, as well as the recorded video here. We typically are posting these up on the insight section of our website. And I send out an email to all our attendees and people that registered after the completion too. So, I wanted to touch on, since we talked about what's in the future for the app, Michelle, you struck a chord with me, and we've heard social distancing, physical distancing, what's the right thing to say. But you talked about, we can still physically distance, but we don't have to like detach socially. And I think a lot of us, and this may be what's impacting the wellness side of us, is if you have disconnected physically, it's just to stay safe, right? But you've also kind of done it socially. I feel more comfortable, and this is going to sound really weird, I feel more comfortable and safe talking to people on Zoom than I do outside with my neighbors and the kids running all over the place. And it's like, I have this little bit of fear in the back of my head, and I don't communicate as well with things going on. So, you've got to be considering these types of things in your programming and what the next 6 to 12 months looks like, as you start to reopen and new things can invigorate these spaces and these activities for you. So, what does all that mean for lifestyle the next 6, 12 months?
Well, gosh, I think that that's a great question. What does the future of programming look like? I can tell you that every day is different, and obviously we're adjusting as we see new guidelines being reinforced and things like that. So we're keeping a very, very obviously watchful eye on the federal, state, local, officials to see what they're saying about the guidelines in each state, because obviously we're all over the country, so each state is going to be a little bit different. And then with that too, each community is a little bit different. We've got some multi-gen communities all the way to 55 and better communities, and you've got a different level of what fear looks like for certain people. So I just think overcoming that with, I know you kind of asked that question, like overcoming that initial kind of fear reaction would be like our constant communication. What are we doing to let residents know how we're taking precautions in each avenue, at each programming stage? What we're doing. Do we invest in a lot more hand sanitizer units? Are we positioning wording and signage? All those kind of things help to eliminate fear. And then it's a personal decision too. If we have a lot of vulnerable populations, they need to make a decision what's best for them. Do they come out now that the restrictions have been lifted, or do they wait a little bit longer before they start partaking in some of the events? But we don't know exactly what the future of programming will be 6 or 12 months from now. It just depends on the guidelines and what that looks like for small groups or large groups, and what have you. So we're going to be following those closely. And then once we know what the regulations and guidelines are, our lifestyle directors are so creative, right? And coming up with, okay, this is what's in place. Now, what can we do to bring that fun, to bring that connection, that kind of social interaction back to the residents that we just know is so important.
Yeah. So
Jeff,
definitely,
Jeff, can I add to that? Do you mind?
Communication is key for sure. Justin, you had a comment?
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that because I think as it relates to the programmatic nature, Michelle does a fantastic job of the challenges or the the inconveniences, if you will, that presents. And I think what we've also demonstrated via this webinar as it relates to the things that are evolving and the technologies or the products that are out there, it just requires you to remain really flexible and agile with your partners, right? Now, how can they help you touch upon a bunch of different problems or challenges in a bunch of different areas to different member base, right? So a little bit of a selfish play, that's really something that we were intentional in how we operate. And I think as it relates to the vendors that you want to work with outside of wellness, that ability to kind of be agile and respond in a lot of different ways, because there is just still so much uncertainty, so many rules and regulations that are going to change. There's still some uncertainties with the virus itself, and not the least of which were the ones that were already there. So I just think, obviously, from a programmatic perspective, but as it looks at the vendors that you work with, really having a digital strategy, a product strategy, something that you can go inside the fitness center, outside the fitness center, onto the grounds, that type of stuff is going to be really important as well.
Yeah. Hey, Justin, while I got you too, because I part of this partnership that we've talked about, and you guys showed it here in your slides with the laws, it's one of the things that I'm really excited about, where we've initially thought about, hey, here's how we can create this wellness or rejuvenation type zone in the fitness centers that Heartline is designing. And through COVID and some other ideas even pre-COVID, this is really a huge opportunity for us to have these types of wall placements anywhere in the community. And I've talked about it in other webinars where we may only have 20% of the population that actually has a gym membership, right? And we all know gyms are pretty much closed in most regions right now. So, whether you were getting wellness from your gym or the physical side of it from your gym, I think that there's 80% of the population that, wasn't getting anything, found it through different avenues. And inside this community and the programming and the lifestyle that we're talking about, just, can you talk a little bit about, where these walls could be placed? What are we actually offering? And I think we're seeing a little bit more than, my initial thought was, hey, we've got space in the gym to put this in. It's a perfect fit, but I think there's more opportunity out there for us to address more than just the fitness people, right? Because that's a smaller group for sure.
Yeah, and Greg, you can certainly add to that. I'll take a run at it, but I know you've got some good points there as well. And Jeff, for us, one of the real critical things is we try to at Three Sages is we're not a fitness company, and that's for starters, right? There are amazing fitness companies out there, and there's a lot of them, right? And it's absolutely important that you have a really strong fitness regimen or routine. Well, we're a restoration company, right? We want to help people get that ability to find balance and bring those muscles back to regular, restorative state and kind of, help them find their balance with their mind, right? So that, that can happen in a lot of different ways. And by nature and virtue of this breadth of wellness content, there can be just mindfulness and meditation you can do anywhere, or it could just be, that you choose to do some sleep visualization, which is only ever going to really happen in more of an environment where you're going to sleep. So as it relates to your question, we can take this anywhere, right? So it started as just a great way to reinvigorate that kind of, often overlooked stretch area in a fitness center amenity, right? We put maybe some mats hanging from the wall, a set of medicine balls. Like, how do we really bring that space to life? And to these, maybe some of these studios inside of a fitness amenity that could have been good for programming, whether Wellbeats or Fitness on Demand or some of those spaces that maybe they want a lower energy zone. People can more of a restorative studio, a no sweat studio where people aren't going to breathe heavy. So again, these things are evolving. We need to be able to respond to those. So we can go in a fitness center, we can go into a dedicated studio, even outside into a lobby. Think of maybe being a hotel guest and you pop in, arrive early, and you want to, your room's not ready for 15 minutes. You just get a quick little 3 to 5 minute mindfulness session. And even into conference rooms, Greg did a fantastic job, and I love starting out calls like that, with a quick mindfulness minute, right? Like, that was breath work. And what a great way to do that inside of a conference room during, board meetings that have taken 5 hours straight. Like, what a great way to find balance. So, we want to bring our sips of wellness. That's the trick, right? How do we help people get little doses, microbursts of wellness in a lot of different ways, anywhere, anytime, and really flex our design muscles to be able to create, digital and physical products that achieve that. And so there's a lot of different ways inside and outside the fitness center, whether it be lobby, the grounds, and even now with our mobile into a residence room.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome, Justin. Greg, did you want to add to that, or? I mean, that was pretty good.
I think, Justin did a good job. I don't want to hop on it too long, but I think, good job on you, JC. But I think, what I probably want to do, I see there are a few questions coming in on the board, Jeff, so maybe I want to talk to a couple of those. I'm just noticing one question came in there on, will Three Sages be available on Android? Yes, it will. Not right now immediately. We're redeving our iOS app to be ready in about 8 weeks' time, which will have our 2.0 coming out. And hot in the heels of that will be Android. So if we're looking at our roadmap of products, we're probably looking at, iOS in the next 8 to 10 weeks and Android probably in the next 3 to 4 months. It's just so yes, we will be bringing Android. And then, so the other question coming in was, are we offering sips of wellness to hotel and spa industry? Absolutely. We're working with quite a few hotel partners currently, because there is a comeback strategy of what people are looking at. We've got, some fantastic partners we're talking to about in-room offering, where we're basically using our playlists, whether it is just content by itself outside of the app and, loading on directly to hotel rooms, which we'll be putting it on their screens, because we know that, when guests are coming back in the travel industry, there will be a high level of anxiety in going into common spaces around a lot of people. So the hotel room is going to become a refuge for a lot of folks. So we are going to be putting our restorative content playlists into the hotel rooms. And then, we are having conversations, because a lot of people are looking at how do we create no sweat zones, right, inside these different environments, because sweat and heavy breathing is a big concern for people right now. Even when we're coming back, like, people are going to be cautious about that the next 6 to 12 months. So onto what Justin spoke about and what you alluded to as well, Jeff, is how do we activate environments, within the fitness space, which people might just want to go into there and engage at some low level, sort of activity, which doesn't require them to run, full tilt on the treadmill next to somebody, or basically into a common space and I think this is what I'd like to challenge a lot of people with, is how do we start to think outside the box, think outside the four walls of a built space, and where do we go? Like, if it's a community lounge, which is not really being used that much right now, because it's just, people aren't congregating as much as they were, we'll take a corner. And, if you can safely position seating around, why not do a community meditation session? It's just something which is very agile and easy to initiate. And, if you've got the mobile app, like maybe people can, go for walks in small groups and, or even just by themselves. So I think talking about that strategy, and I don't want to sort of, going in a couple of different angles here to answer that question about hotel and spa. Yes, we are working with hotel partners right now, delivering it either in room or potentially if people want to have conversations about building out apps into loyalty programs, or even just providing the mobile app for someone, when the spa industry comes back in, for treatments. That's really what we, we're focusing on multiple verticals on that: hospitality, multifamily, corporate, even in the students. When the students come back, they're going to be anxious coming back in the fall, even if they get back in time. How are we supporting these kids who like leaving home for the first time and now they're inside these communities? Like, what are we doing to alleviate them, their stresses and their anxiety? So to like sort of end on that one, we need to be more mindful of a holistic approach to wellness, but not be scared to push the boundaries of where we place these wellness concepts and platforms. Like, they need to be put into areas where we traditionally wouldn't have thought they would go. And I think we're really going to start pushing the status quo in that one.
Yeah, awesome. Great, Greg. Michelle, I'm going to go to you and I'm going to combine two of these questions here. The first one is, how often are you running, these virtual activities? And the other part to this is, transitioning to more virtual type classes. There had to be some challenges in there, right? How did you?
I'll start with your second question first. As far as like the challenges moving to virtual, of course, we manage a lot of 55 and better communities. So technology is a challenge for that clientele. So for us, we didn't want technology to be a challenge when it comes to engagement and connection for people. So we took a lot of time to do some educational stuff, videos, what have you, trainings on the different platforms. Our teams are using a wide variety of platforms. Could be Zoom, it could be, maybe they have a private Facebook group where they're hosting things. WebEx, there's a multitude of platforms. And so with each platform, whatever platform the community kind of chose, a lot of education had to go into that because, again, we didn't want technology to be that barrier for people. And then, I'm sorry, Jeff, what was part A? Did I answer them both kind of?
Just how are you running these activities with virtual? Is it, 3 virtual classes a day, 3 times a week? What's the frequency?
Yeah, so again, great question. It's all over the board, again, depending on the size of the community and the needs really of the community. But, we have some properties that are running fitness classes every day virtually right now. And as soon as it happened, they switched virtually. A lot of our communities just did a whole bunch of Memorial Day events. And it's a combination. I wouldn't say it's all virtual because, something that the communities have seen success on, we just had a call this morning with the lifestyle directors, was they put parades together. So like a couple of communities did Memorial Day parades in cars, 6 feet apart, but they still were able to engage the community, decorating their cars. They had a fire truck. People came out, they decorated their sidewalks with chalk, to celebrate Memorial Day. So it's been a combination of creative ideas when it comes to programming, and also creative ideas when it comes to virtual programming.
Awesome. Wow, great. Justin or Greg, you can answer this next one here. Has Three Sages had any prior experience with, and you were just talking about, the amenity space in hotels, and I go to, like, you want to just decompress when you get to the hotel, right? You've been on the plane 2-3 hours, but what's your experience, in that hospitality market in the past?
Yeah, I think, Justin, like I'll take a fly at that. I think, on our side, we've got extensive experience in the hospitality market. We've, not, prior to Three Sages, both myself and Justin, we've worked, with a lot of large, and small hospitality brands. We created collectively with another team, the sort of the global wellness design narrative for Hilton hotels. We're working, currently with the Core. We have a great partnership with them in the works at the moment. So, with their Fairmont brand. So to answer that, yes, we've been working for years in the hospitality industry, and we already look at the hospitality and the multifamily industry. They are quite similar, in how how they are giving their fitness amenities or taking care of them, or, whether you're looking after a guest or a resident, there's a lot of similarities there. So that's why we work in both those spaces extensively, because there's a lot of similarities. But to answer that question very directly, yes, we have worked extensively with hospitality brands, and we'll continue to do so. And we see that as a great growth market for us.
Yeah. Let me throw one more question at you, Greg or Justin, too. So, we've talked about the wall. We've, previewed the app in the past, but I think it's, if you had to sum up in one or two takeaways, bullets, what is the, status quo breaker, the differentiator between your app and, a lot of other apps that are possibly on the market?
Greg, you want to? Let me take a run at that. And I think it's a very fair question. And I think we have, some really clear points of differentiation, because there are some amazing, as I mentioned earlier, we tend to skew and present ourselves as much more, we call it kind of a restorative company versus a fitness company. And, some of the names that come to mind are your Commins and your Headspaces, right? And while amazing technologies and doing quite well, they tend to focus on, maybe a single discipline more. So meditation or sleep visualization as it relates to calm. So for us, we've just always taken an approach where, really, if we can get very inspirational content, so we produce all our own content, we don't go inside green screen, bright lights, real people, real movements that some people can really relate to. And if you haven't experienced our content, you will, through the app download. And it just put it into very, very short format. So for us, the biggest differentiators, right? So you're going to have a breadth of wellness genres, be it breath work, be it meditation, be it quick fixes in yoga and sleep visualization, right? So that's a big differentiator, is that, all things wellness is different to everybody. So we want to make sure that they can experience what fancies them. But also, we create all our own content. That very aspirational content is going to be different than what you see from others in terms of how we shoot it. And then the real nugget is that short format, right? Our mantra, these SIPs, very intentional to be kind of that short format. So all the things we've alluded to, right? No time, and I'm just kind of fighting for bandwidth today. I got kids running around on Zoom calls. Like, how do we just squeeze in those 3 to 5 minutes? And that's really important for us. So across all genres, the style of the content, as well as, the format, and then that you can really consume it anywhere, right? Like via a mobile app, via a wall solution. Our technology is such that you don't even need Wi-Fi. Like we can get things where you can have it in the basement of a building that's a dead room, right? So it's the technology behind it is pretty solid as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Justin. Well, I think that's, I kind of knew the answer to this question. I've heard it before, but that's where the strategic partnership with Three Sages and Heartline, I think, really accelerates things for us. We've said that we were the fitness experts, and we've said we were the fitness and wellness experts. And there's a lot of apps out there that you can get tons of fitness. And we do tons of fitness at Heartline. But the niche with you is really, smaller, specific content and very focused on wellness. And I think that's a great compliment and a differentiator compared to a lot of other things that may be covering a much broader range in that virtual space. So great answer, and thank you for that, Justin.
Jeff, I'd just add to that, like our ability to bring that into a solution as well, right? So it's not just a mobile solution, as you can kind of see over Greg's shoulder. Like that wall solution is a big differentiator from those groups in this space is how to create a real live destination or an oasis inside of your facility to actually consume it versus just exclusively mobile. That's a big differentiator for us as well.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Go ahead. I was going to read off another question, but if you want to.
Yeah, I think I wanted to sort of tie in because there are two questions which are actually probably which will incorporate the answer here as well. I see that we've got someone asked Justin, how is Three Sages tying their programming with their wellness products, and what products are you creating for your wellness wall? And then furthermore, someone asked another question on where does Three Sages go from here in terms of wellness programming. So I think those are two connected to what Justin's answering here as well, right? Is that we always trying to, when we're looking at our wall, there's, the products on the wall. So everything on there is going to be used with what we have on our touchscreen. So whether it's a 43-inch or a 70-inch touchscreen up on that wall, whether it be, we have a great partnership with HyperIce. We've obviously got the HyperVolt and the Viper, which are on the wall. That's going to have content which is going to be programmed into the screens as well. So all those tools and tricks, are going to be available on the wall to grab and go, but also there'll be guidance and programming on that. And if it's a studio format, whether it's more just a whole lot of Viper rollers and some mats, we're also trying to not go too many tools because we want to simplify this as much as possible. We've got these bodies of ours, these meat suits of ours, like we can use them. It's phenomenal what we can do with them. So let's use them as much as possible in those ways. And I think where to from here, like what's on the horizon, is that we like to bring nature in as much as possible because, if you look at a lot of content out there, people are just all about like volume of content. Like they're really just pushing out this live streaming, they haven't really thought about the setup much. It's really just looking at this where it's in a studio and nothing against it. I think there's definitely a place in the market for that. Like live streaming is great. I've got a Peloton bike in my office. I use it often. But, if I'm traveling and I'm sitting in a hotel room looking at a brick wall out my window, or, if I'm just, at home and I want to get out of my space, I want to go somewhere in my mind. Like this is why the travel channels are so popular. People armchair travel, right? People look at nature, they watch National Geographic Channel. So why don't we do that same thing to wellness? Like let's bring the outdoors in and inspire people through nature. So, what we've got on the horizon when we're going to be, we're obviously going to be creating content ongoing. This is just the start of our journey, whether it's us going out to Joshua Tree or Big Sur or, even going as far afield as Costa Rica or wherever it might be doing. That's where we're going to be going with our, with our projects and bringing that amazing scenery and those amazing pieces of content, whether it's a sunrise session in Joshua Tree or it's a sunset session on Lake Tahoe. Like we want people to be able to get that and see that. So on the horizon is to be able to take that content and package that up into more instructive programming and journeys, as we call them. So when we come out with our new app in 8 weeks time, those journeys and those programs are going to now be in there. And then we're going to start pushing in, a lot of that really aspirational, inspirational content into that environment. And that's how we change, really help people change the positive. Short format, nature inspired, sips of wellness, which are really going to hit you in a holistic way.
Nice. Brandon was great. Michelle, I want to go to you with a question. And we've at Heartline kind of answered a lot of the, disinfect and protect, outmost air, all these kind of reopening considerations. But there's a question here with, lifestyles and say you're just opening up a community, right? And it's a brand new fitness center. We've got social distancing, we've got masks in there. I'm looking for those creative ideas that you guys have held to reopen that space, be it a brand new fitness center or that reopening of an existing center, to outside of the disinfect and all that. There's got to be some creative things that you guys have done that, our audience would really appreciate to understand.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think this really goes back to, the kind of the phases of programming and where each community and really board is at under the obviously federal, state, local guidelines. So we're seeing a lot of different things. Again, it just depends on the amenities that are offered. But we recommend the phase approach, the lifestyle at home, which is a lot of virtual things. And then the next phase, is the outdoor stuff. We're seeing a lot of green spaces being activated. I don't know if that means, drive-in movies or drive-in concerts or what have you, but just utilizing those spaces. It could be, outdoor classes, things like that, as long as we're keeping social distancing guidelines. And of course, the board is comfortable with what the lifestyle directors are coming up with and approves it. We're pushing it out there. So it's different. There's no like one set cookie cutter kind of answer for this because each community, like I said, is different. But we're seeing a wide variety. People are getting really creative. Again, just following the guidelines that are in place and then getting creative around it, constantly asking the question, what can we do? What can we do with the spaces that we have that can create a little bit of fun, during this time that's been pretty challenging for people.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Well, I want to be conscious of the time in an hour. So I have one more question, and I'm going to field it to Justin or Greg here. When is the wall going to be available?
Yeah, so we're anticipating, our factory, as most people have challenges, are back up to capacity here and operational in the next couple of weeks. You know, figure 4 to 6 weeks after that, we'll be able to safely, comfortably, deliver these walls. So I think, erring on the side of caution, you factor everything, figure 8 weeks, middle of July, end of July, these walls can land and be installed and operational. And so that's that. And then the app obviously is ready right now, and we'll share, some specifics on how to download and do your 3-week challenge. But I think a really reasonable and fair number for the wall installed in about 8 weeks.
Awesome. Well, very exciting stuff here today. I thank you, Greg, Michelle, and Justin. And again, we have a 3-week challenge here. We've got the wall coming. Next week will be our final webinar in the Disinfect and Protect series, and how I wanted to kind of wrap this up as a technology that Heartline's been building probably for about the last year or so, and we're ready to launch it. And it may seem, why are you launching now in the middle of all these other things that you've got going on? I think it's really, in any of these webinars, there's always an emphasis on communication, right? And one of the most challenging spots for us, whether we're selling product, we're doing design, we're doing the service, preventative maintenance, wherever it is, how do we communicate better? And, COVID has kind of pushed life to right here in your hand, right? And we were working, or Zoom, right? But we've been working on this for a long time, knowing that is how do we get that information right into our customers' hands to schedule service, get an additional COI for your insurance, understanding the health of your assets. And by assets, I mean, your AED to your treadmill, to your elliptical. We're tracking all that in our systems, but our customers don't really see that unless they're calling us to ask for it and things like that. And to ask for things in emails, that's not as easy as it could be. So our next and final webinar really is a focus on the HLB, which is an asset management tool for us and a communication tool for us. We will be launching it off and onboarding everyone. And again, there's lots of cool things that it does. We'll go into more of that during the webinar, but really, how do we communicate better? How do we create convenience? And we understand loyalty and making things as easy as possible is what we're trying to do with the app. So again, I appreciate all our attendees, our panelists, wonderful, presentation here today on wellness. We will follow up with an email on how to download the app and the complimentary code. And Greg, Justin, kicking off the 3 weeks on Monday is the plan?
Monday or Sunday, Greg?
I was on mute.
Oh.
Monday is good.
Monday's good? All right. Well, I'm in.
Beautiful. All right. Awesome.
All right.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Heartline
everyone.
and Michelle, obviously, thank you. Would love collaborating with you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.